At 80 years old, Tom Selleck remains one of Hollywood's most iconic leading men. Best known for his role as the charismatic private investigator Thomas Magnum in Magnum P.I., Selleck has spent decades capturing hearts with his charm, rugged looks, and undeniable talent. But recently, fans were left stunned when he opened up about something deeply personal. In a rare and emotional confession, Selleck admitted, "He was the only one who could do that to me." These words immediately sparked speculation. Who was he talking about? Was it a fellow actor, a friend, or someone who shaped his life behind the scenes? For a man as private as Tom Selleck, such a statement carries weight. His confession sheds light not only on his professional journey, but also on the personal relationships and struggles that defined his career. From his rise to fame in the 1980s, his time navigating the pressures of Hollywood, to his later career in Blue Bloods and the challenges of aging gracefully under the spotlight, Selleck's story is one of resilience, loyalty, and humility. But this revelation has added an entirely new layer to his legacy, reminding fans that even the strongest of men have moments of vulnerability and people who leave a permanent mark on their lives. So, what exactly did Tom Selleck mean? And who was this mysterious figure that he admitted had such a profound impact on him? Let's take a closer look. Before Tom Selleck became a household name, he spent years working quietly on small roles and struggling to break into Hollywood. Born in Detroit, Michigan in 1945 and raised in California, Selleck didn't originally set out to be an actor. In fact, he attended the University of Southern California on a basketball scholarship before considering a career in entertainment. Like many young men of his generation, he also served in the California Army National Guard, something that would later shape his disciplined and grounded persona, both on and off screen. His early attempts at acting were filled with rejection. He auditioned for countless parts, often being told he was too tall, too rugged, or simply not the right fit for leading roles of the 1960s and 70s. He took commercial work to pay the bills and appeared in small guest roles on shows like The Rockford Files, where he first began to draw the attention of producers who saw his potential. The turning point came in 1980 when he landed the role of Thomas Magnum in Magnum. P.I., the series, set in the stunning backdrop of Hawaii, became an instant hit and catapulted Selleck into superstardom. His blend of easy charm, athleticism, and humor made Magnum one of the most beloved television characters of the decade. The mustache, the Hawaiian shirts, and the red Ferrari became cultural trademarks, cementing Selleck's place in television history. But what made Selleck stand out wasn't just his looks. It was his ability to balance toughness with vulnerability. Unlike many action-driven roles of the era, Magnum wasn't invincible. He got hurt, he doubted himself, and he faced real struggles, both personal and professional. This nuance, brought to life through Selleck's performance, resonated deeply with audiences who saw in him a relatable hero rather than an untouchable figure. As Magnum, P.I. dominated ratings and won him an Emmy Award. Hollywood began knocking on Selleck's door, yet his career wasn't without sacrifice. Famously, he turned down the role of Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark because of contractual obligations to Magnum. While many saw this as a missed opportunity, Selleck never expressed regret. To him, Magnum P.I. was more than just a role. It was the foundation of his career and the platform that allowed him to shape his identity as an actor. Outside of Magnum, Selleck began to explore film roles, including Three Men and a Baby, which became one of the biggest box office successes of 1987. The movie highlighted his versatility, showing that he could excel in comedy as well as drama. Despite these achievements, he often kept a low profile compared to other Hollywood stars of the time. Known for his humility and preference for privacy, Selleck focused more on the quality of his work than on the glitz of fame. By the time Magnum P.I. ended in 1988, Selleck had firmly established himself as one of television's most respected actors. But his journey was far from over. He went on to reinvent himself in later years with roles in Friends, as Monica's older boyfriend Richard, and his long-running success as Frank Reagan in Blue Bloods. Each role showcased his ability to adapt to changing times while staying true to the grounded authenticity that defined him. Looking back, Selleck's rise to fame was not a smooth climb, but a story of persistence, discipline, and resilience. The struggles of his early career, combined with his grounded approach to life, shaped the man fans admire today. And it's within this backdrop of triumphs and challenges that his recent, emotional confession about someone who could profoundly affect him takes on even greater meaning. When Tom Selleck, now 80, uttered the words, "He was the only one who could do that to me," fans and media outlets immediately seized upon the statement. For decades, Selleck had been known as a man of remarkable privacy, rarely revealing personal struggles or naming individuals who deeply influenced his journey. This rare confession hinted at a vulnerability beneath the polished Hollywood exterior, a glimpse into the relationships and dynamics that shaped not just his career, but his life. So who was Selleck referring to? To understand the weight of the statement, we must look at the personal and professional figures who walked alongside him during his rise to fame. One possibility was his longtime friend and mentor, James Garner. Selleck often credited Garner, the star of The Rockford Files, for giving him advice in his early years. Garner, himself a towering figure in television, was known for his wit, discipline, and professionalism on set, qualities Selleck admired and later adopted. If anyone could do that to him, whether it meant grounding him, challenging him, or even humbling him, Garner was a likely candidate. Another interpretation ties back to his time on Magnum. P.I. Selleck's relationship with the cast and crew was known to be like a family. John Hillerman, who played Higgins, brought both comedic balance and dramatic tension to the series. Their on-screen banter translated into real-life respect, and Selleck often admitted that Hillerman's sharpness forced him to elevate his own performance. Perhaps his confession was an acknowledgement that Hillerman, who passed away in 2017, was one of the few who could truly challenge him in ways that left a lasting impression. Some fans, however, believe Selleck's words referenced someone even closer, his father. Tom Selleck often spoke about his upbringing and the lessons his father instilled in him. A man of discipline and integrity, Robert Dean Selleck emphasized humility, hard work, and responsibility, values Tom carried throughout his career. His father's influence was profound, shaping not only the actor's work ethic, but also his personal philosophy on fame, privacy, and family life. If his father was indeed the person behind this confession, it would explain the deeply emotional tone of the remark. Yet the intrigue of Selleck's statement lies in its ambiguity. By not specifying who he meant, he left room for speculation and reflection. Fans debated whether the only one was a figure of friendship, mentorship, or family. Regardless, the core of his words revealed something essential about Tom Selleck. Even a man who embodied strength, confidence, and independence had someone in his life capable of humbling him, teaching him, or leaving an indelible mark. The confession also sheds light on a broader truth about Selleck's career. Unlike many Hollywood stars, he never built his success alone. He leaned on the guidance of mentors, the support of co-stars, and the grounding influence of family. His humility in admitting that someone else held such power over him reflects the kind of man he has always been: grateful, respectful, and aware of the people who shaped his journey. For fans, the mystery of the only one may never be solved definitively, but perhaps that is the point. Selleck's statement wasn't about naming names, it was about acknowledging that even the strongest figures have anchors in their lives. And for a man whose career was built on portraying heroes, detectives, and authority figures, this glimpse of vulnerability made him all the more relatable. Tom Selleck's confession wasn't just a passing remark, it was a window into the unseen forces that shaped his journey. For decades, Selleck has stood as a model of professionalism and resilience, a man who seemed to navigate Hollywood without being consumed by it. But even he acknowledged that one individual, whether a mentor, a co-star, or a family figure, had the power to guide his choices and influence the man he became. If James Garner truly was the person behind his words, the impact on Selleck's career cannot be overstated. Garner, known for his naturalistic acting style and refusal to compromise his principles, became an example Selleck carried with him throughout Magnum, P.I., and beyond. He often recalled how Garner taught him that charm wasn't about overacting, but about being authentic. Garner's mentorship helped Selleck bring humanity to the role of Thomas Magnum, which became the defining character of his career. In many ways, Garner showed him that success in Hollywood could come without sacrificing humility, something Selleck later passed down to younger actors he worked with. If John Hillerman was the only one, the lesson was equally powerful, though in a different way. Hillerman, with his sharp wit and commanding presence as Higgins, forced Selleck to sharpen his own craft. Their playful on-screen rivalry required perfect timing and balance, teaching Selleck that great acting often comes from collaboration rather than dominance. Hillerman pushed him to be better, not through lectures, but through sheer excellence. If Selleck's confession referred to him, it was likely an acknowledgement of how Hillerman's presence elevated his own performance and kept him grounded. And then there's the possibility of his father. Robert Dean Selleck instilled in Tom a sense of discipline and duty that never left him, even when Hollywood fame threatened to overwhelm him. Tom once said that his father was the kind of man who didn't tolerate excuses, a figure who could call him out when no one else dared. If his confession was about his father, then it spoke volumes about the values Tom carried into his personal life. His devotion to his wife Jilly, his daughter Hannah, and his insistence on living away from the Hollywood spotlight on his California ranch. His father's influence reminded him that family and integrity came before fame, a philosophy that defined his choices throughout his career. What makes Selleck's words so meaningful is that they capture a universal truth. Even the strongest individuals are shaped by others. For Tom, this figure, whoever they were, was not just a presence but a compass. They challenged him when he needed it, humbled him when pride threatened to take over, and reminded him of what truly mattered. Professionally, Selleck's career reflects these lessons. He avoided scandal, steered clear of the destructive temptations of fame, and consistently chose roles that aligned with his values. Personally, he cultivated a stable family life in an industry where marriages often crumble under pressure. In both spheres, the influence of that only one can be felt, guiding him toward a legacy not just of success, but of respect and integrity. Tom Selleck's confession may have sparked speculation, but more importantly, it revealed a man willing to give credit where it was due. In acknowledging that someone else could impact him so profoundly, he reminded fans that no star rises alone. For Selleck, that figure wasn't just a part of his story. They were central to it. Tom Selleck's confession at the age of 80 sent ripples across Hollywood and beyond. For decades, he had been admired as the strong, rugged leading man, often seen as untouchable in both his career and personal life. But when he admitted that there was only one person who had the power to influence him so deeply, it revealed a vulnerable side of the actor that many had never witnessed. Fans, co-stars, and even critics saw this as a rare glimpse behind the curtain of a man who had spent his entire career protecting his privacy. What made his revelation so powerful wasn't just who it was about, but the honesty in the way he expressed it. Tom admitted that his strength as an actor, his choices as a man, and even some of his greatest life decisions were swayed by this unique bond. It made audiences reconsider everything they thought they knew about him, how he chose his roles, why he walked away from certain opportunities, and the true importance of loyalty in his life. The confession was both shocking and endearing, showing that even a Hollywood legend wasn't immune to love, trust, and influence. This moment reshaped Tom Selleck's image in the public eye. He was no longer just the action star with the mustache and the unforgettable presence on screen. He was a man who could admit to being deeply moved, even shaped, by another person's actions and presence in his life. That admission resonated with audiences who saw a bit of themselves in him, people who understood how one person's influence could change the course of their lives. Now, at 80, Tom Selleck's legacy is not only about the characters he played, but also about the wisdom he shared. His heartfelt confession became part of his story, a reminder that strength isn't about being unshakable. It's about acknowledging the people who matter most. For many, that honesty made him more relatable and more respected than ever before. It proved that behind the fame, Tom Selleck remained profoundly human, carrying a truth that defined not only his career, but his very soul.